Well, some of you know, some of you don't, some of you do know, I was on vacation this past week. If you just see me on Sundays, you think, I haven't been anywhere, but I've been gone all week long. I popped up again on Sunday. I was at South Padre Island. It was pretty warm down there, by the way. That beach is hot in the middle of the day. Thank goodness for sunscreen. So, while I was down there, I had the chance to visit one of the local, I guess you would say, attractions, because apparently that's where lots of the sea turtles go to make their nests along that island. Sea turtle. So they have a little place there that rescues sea turtles that get beat up. Lose a flipper, and they can fix them up. They get to be gigantic, by the way. I know more about sea turtles now than I ever did, and I'm sure you're happy to hear that. I did learn this one funny thing, because there was a small aquarium-like thing in the big exhibit hall for the sea turtles, where there was something called a terrapin. A terrapin. And I'm sure you all know what terrapins are. Terra meaning land. These are land turtles. Land. They have one little place for the land turtles. And I couldn't help remember that when I grew up near Maryland in Virginia, that the mascot for Maryland is the terrapins, the mighty fighting land turtles. And I thought to myself, now I know what a terrapin is. The Maryland Terrapins. What a goofy name for a college. Of course, we're in San Antonio. You can't get too high on your horse when your mascot is the road runner. The vicious bird that will just run all over you and peck you to death or something. I did hear after the first sermon this morning, somebody else knows of a college, I forget where they said, their mascot is actually was a vegetable. I think it was, oh, that's another one. The mighty fighting okra of Mississippi. There's one in California I heard that named after a tree. You know, you would think California, tree huggers, lots of big trees out there. So one of the college mascots is the fighting, like sequoias or something, I don't know. I mean, how vicious can a tree be? So the fight, yes, it falls on you or something, I don't know. So Jesus is kind of right in line there, because he didn't say the kingdom of God is like a wild boar who's going to come in there and tear up the earth and make God's kingdom come. It's like a big boar. And he didn't say, oh, it's like a screaming attack eagle that comes down with big wings and casts out the evil and tears up the bad guys and establishes God's rule. No, he was kind of more like the tree people. So the kingdom of God is like a seed. The mighty, fighting, brutal attack seed. Like, really? Couldn't you come up with a better parable than a seed, Jesus? He said, no, the kingdom of God is like a seed. Okay, what's so good about a seed, Jesus? He says, well, for one thing, it always works. Put the seed in the earth, it's going to grow up. You don't have to pay any attention to it. You just go about your daily life, rise up, sit down, go to bed, wake up, and the seed will sprout. And first it'll have a sprout, and then it'll have a stalk, then it'll get some fruit on the end of the stalk, and then we'll have the harvest. The seed always works, whether you pay attention to it or not. The seed is powerful. You could say the seed cannot be stopped. You cannot stop this. It's going to work. Then he said, well, you could compare it to a special kind of seed like the mustard seed, which apparently is a very, very tiny, small seed that you can barely see. But you throw it out and it spreads like a weed until when it grows up, it becomes a very large shrub. Big branches. Even the birds can rest in the branches. But it's going to work. And it doesn't matter how small it starts off. a very humble, little, almost invisible seed, but it's going to work. So really, the seed is not a bad idea. Unstoppable, start small, it's going to work. You don't even have to pay much attention to it because it has its own power. It has its own life. It's the life of God. It's called the kingdom of God, not the kingdom of David or the kingdom of Georgia or the kingdom of Libya. It's God's kingdom, therefore it has the power within it. The kingdom of God, Jesus said, is like a seed that someone throws out onto the ground. They go about their daily life, and it works. I'm not much of a gardener, to be honest. I'm certainly not a farmer, but I've got this one plant in my yard that is unstoppable. I got a couple of them, actually. The HOA, they keep telling me you need to weed that yard because those are unstoppable. But I've got this one bush, and you all know about it. It's the lantana bush. I thought they were like special things you had to plant and nurture and water and pay attention to. People have them in their gardens all over South Texas. The lantana thing. It's crazy, you guys. It's wild. It grows naturally. I mean, totally naturally. It popped up in my yard. Then, because I don't mow the yard enough, it got big enough I wanted to mow around it. Because it was flowering. It's like, I don't want to mow down the flowers. Now I've got these twin hedges. I got the regular hedges, which everybody has in front of their windows. And then I got this lantana stuff that is outgrowing the hedges. I didn't plant them. I did not plant them. Birds, those damn birds. I presume at first they grew from a seed. And then after a while, I think they get running. I'm not sure. But they go, and they go. So I'm going to roll with my helper on the right over here, who said the bird planted the seed, because it's a heck of an illustration about the kingdom of God. It says you can't stop it. Starts as a seed. You didn't even know it was there. And then it grows fast. It starts flowering. It's bigger than the hedges. So when Jesus said the kingdom of God is like a seed, that was not a bad image, was it? Didn't need to be a giant carnivore. Didn't need to be something dramatic. In fact, he says it's really quite small when it starts, but it's going to work. I promise you it's going to work. So the kingdom of God can come in lots of ways. We speak of the kingdom of God within our hearts, when our relationship with God kind of takes over our lives, becomes the center point of who we are. We call it the kingdom of God within us. How Christ is born in us, and we begin to manifest the life of God in our own lives. Sometimes that seems like a long way off, because so much of us are so immature still. So much of us are still broken, and we have not reached our potential at all yet. But Jesus said, don't worry. The seed of the kingdom of God has been planted in your heart, and it will work. It will work. I promise you. The kingdom of God is also in the world, in the relationships we have with other people, in the policies and the structures we set up to live together as communities in San Antonio, Texas, and the United States. All of our ways of living together, that's also the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God within here, and then the kingdom of God on the earth. That seems like a long way off sometimes. Seems like, does not look like the kingdom of God, looks like the kingdom of the devil. So much violence, so much hurt, so much struggle, so much conflict. Jesus would say, I know. But the seed of the kingdom of God is also planted there as well. And it will work. It may start small, but the kingdom of God is like the seed that will grow until it takes over. So whether might have come into church discouraged today or a little downhearted about something in our lives, something in us that seems like we cannot overcome, or something in the world at large, policies, structures, institutions that are part of our community life that seems so unfair or that seems so wrong. Jesus would like to encourage your heart today and encourage the world about us by telling you this. The kingdom of God is like a seed. It's going to grow and it's going to work. I promise you. It may look like it's small, but it's going to work. Because it's God's kingdom. It's God's seed. It's been planted. It has its own power. It has its own resources. It's going to work. So, while I don't really fear the terrapin, I don't really fear the okra, Jesus says, fear the seed. It's going to work.